Steve Redmond, good morning.
Good morning, John. Aloha from Hawaii.
And aloha to you, Steve. You're trying to complete what sounds like a remarkable feat, the Ocean's 7 Swims Challenge. Tell us about it.
Well, it's a series of 7 swims all around the world, John, that are deemed the most difficult swims, and they haven't been completed by anybody in total. So we kind of got into this around 4 years ago when we did the English Channel, and then we succeeded in the North Channel, and it's kind of followed on from that. But there's an elite group of long distance swimmers out there, and they're all trying to get this monocle, this prize. And I've been lucky, I got to 6. I'm just out of the water around 3.5 hours now in Hawaii from achieving the Molokai Channel, where we swam for 22.5 hours and covered over 44 miles.
And what were conditions like, Steve?
It was pretty horrendous. At night, we swam through the night thinking it would be calm, and a storm came in and just drove the northeasterly winds crazy. We had whales singing all night long to us, and you didn't know whether they were right next to you or a couple of miles away. And then during the day, the storm just continued. So we were in 20-foot water all day long with the boat alongside me. And it was pretty horrendous. You get motion sickness from the swell and your stomach locks up. It's horrifying. It's a horrifying swim. But it's better than failing. We were here in October when we failed, and we didn't want to come back again. So we were on 6 now, and there's only one other person in the world on 6, and she's an Australian lady. We're just after we completed the Cook Strait last Friday in New Zealand, where we went down. I went down myself. I always classify the swims as we because I get so much help from everybody,
Yeah.
But in New Zealand, I went down by myself because of the fact of the costs. Normally, you bring somebody with you to feed you, But the Irish down in New Zealand, in Wellington, were incredible. Down there in Defoe and Rosalind Murphy, they just looked after everything for me. It was quite like going home, and even though you were the other side of the world. And it's taken on a kind of it's energy of its own. My communities. I originally come from Castledermot, and they've fundraised for me there, because it's all self-funded. The logistics of it, the English Channel and Gibraltar, say, are kind of easier.
Yeah, take us through, Steve. For those not familiar,
take
English
us through
Channel, from the first stretch you swam was where?
The English Channel was in 2009, and we were in there 20 hours, and that's seemingly the Everest of swims. But in Ireland, we have the hardest swim of all, which is between Scotland and Northern Ireland. It's only 12 degrees of water up there, and for most of the swim, you're attacked by jellyfish for the swim, so you're stung to the high heavens. It's deemed as the most difficult channel in the world to swim, and really it was. We were 17 hours in there, so we were very, very lucky, with teams, and we got away with these things. It's down to, if the sea allows you to do them, they will allow, you'll get away with it. But we went to Gibraltar then last year, and Catalina, and we came over to Molokai, seeing as we were so close, being in LA, and we had to come out after 18 miles because the weather went crazy again, and they were losing me for 20 minutes, half an hour. My brother was my support team there, and it was very, very difficult, to have failed. But we had this opportunity to come over and do the New Zealand Cook Straits, and then come up here to Hawaii afterwards. After these swims, I don't want to see any water now for a long, long time.
I'm sure you don't, but you have one challenge to overcome. We get to that in a moment, but I'm just thinking of the time it took you to swim the Molokai Channel. Normally, how long would it take? Because it took you over 12 hours. In normal conditions, how long would it take?
It would normally take around 15 hours, 12 to 15 hours, depending on your stroke rate. I stroke at around 56, and it's around 2 miles an hour. But we were hoping for fine weather. The skipper had the forecast for fine weather, but most of these places, you can go out and the weather is doing something completely different. So we ended up being in there for, 22 and a half hours.
I beg your pardon, sorry, I said 12. Yeah, you're right. 22 hours, yeah.
Yeah, and the last 5 miles was horrendous. You go, it's mental strength, really. You go to the edge and have a look and go further again, kind of thing, and you kind of put pain to tomorrow and forget about it. And just I used today's winter was my kids' names, and just came too far to fail. You know, you just keep on banging out in your head these, and you pray to everybody. You know, and it's crazy. So, but we got away with it, thank God. You know, and it will be next week before we really realize it. Today, now I'm in too much pain. No sudden movements. My shoulders are gone. My hands are gone. My back is gone. You know. So.
And Steve, explain to me. I mean, do you get breaks during the swim, and what do you eat and drink along the way?
You're not allowed to touch the boat. That's the rules, and you only can swim in a pair of normal speedos, and a cap and a pair of goggles. And normally you start for the first hour. You have a feed on the hour, and then after that, every 45 minutes, which would be a high carb drink like High Five or Perpetuum, Hammer Perpetuum, and they feed that to you on the. You know, you normally have one guy on the boat, and he keeps you alive for the entire swim. His job is the hardest of the lot, because for the whole swim, he never takes his eyes off you. You know, he feeds you, he gives you painkillers, he keeps you going when you want to stop. And I can assure you, you want to stop nearly every minute of the swim. You want to get out. It was horrifying today. The humpback whales down here, and they're breeding and they're calving. So 2 humpback whales just drifted down below me, around 20 feet below me, like huge spaceships, you know, and they were just checking me out, and the next minute we had sharks tailing them, you know. And what do? Do you get out because you're afraid of them? You have to keep going. You're into the swim so far. They won't let you out anyway. Most of the skippers, like in New Zealand, we spent nearly 2 hours getting in 750 meters because of the tide and the wind. And the guy, Philip Rush is the guy down there. He's in charge of the open water swim for the Olympics for New Zealand, an elite swimmer in his own right. And he said, you can either drown, but you're not coming back into the boat. So even though you're so close, it's always the end. You know, you don't really know you're going to finish a swim until you actually touch that piece of stone or climb out onto the beach.
And that must be a wonderful feeling. But I'm just saying that when you spot the sharks, and the lad in the boat says, no, you're not coming out. You're going to stay there. But surely,
the sharks are easy, sir. It's the sea that's trying to kill you. The sharks are no problem at all. They'll come in and have a look, and they're just kind of like dogs. They're not really interested, you know.
They're just having a look at you. So
the music is in your head, you know. The Jaws music goes straight into your head. My kids have been watching Jaws for the last couple of weeks before I left, because they knew there was great whites down in New Zealand, and they thought this was hilarious. But it's if a shark comes up, what do? They were there before you. They'll be there after you're gone, and you just get on with it. You know, if you come out, you lose the swim.
I know you have the reassuring presence of the boat and the man in the boat, as you call him. But do you not fear for your life at various stages? Because presumably there is some distance at times between you and the boat.
Yeah. Well, you normally, today the boat was getting blown away by the wind, but they'd always steam back around you. You know, every swim has slightly different ways of doing it. Like in New Zealand, we had a little rib with us right next to me the whole swim, and they keep you in contact, and the big boat lays off, you know. You're always in fear, but everything is covered. You know, you have paramedics on board, and, you know, as long as you're corpus mentis and you can keep turning your arms. Like, for instance, today now, in the end, it was taking us maybe nearly 40 minutes to do a mile, 45 minutes to do a mile. It was cruel hardship, against the tide and the wind, and I did not think we would finish, really. But the thought of coming back and having to do it all again, and the people you let down, you know, as I say, I come from Castlearmid, but I live in West Cork in Ballyhob now, and we've had huge support from the community down there, you know, between car drives and fundraising for the swims. And, it becomes like nobody got any sleep in Ballyhob or Castlearmid last night. They were watching this bloody thing unfold, you know.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing thing now, and hopefully we will achieve the last one, and it'll be a world first and an Irish first, because
fantastic. It'll make it all worth it, Steve. And tell us about the last channel that you have to swim to complete this monumental challenge.
The Suguru Channel is between the South Island and the North Island in Japan, and it's the same story. It's deemed a highly dangerous stretch of water. You have huge amounts of water coming through a small area. So you have huge tides, you have a lot of squid up there and a lot of sharks as well. But as I say, it's not the animals that you have to worry about, it's the water itself. And the problem really is, as I say, we're all self-funded, so we are looking for somebody to come on board and try and make this an Irish Trust. I only really got into it because I got fed up with people putting the country down, and after the couple of weeks I've had and seeing the Irish people out there, I think it's amazing that we have the Irish people out all around the world now, because they're a ray of light for us all,
Yeah, and backing you all the way, because
backing us all the way. It was quite incredible. New Zealand was unbelievable. So I could not. I wept leaving the place. And you're very broken. You go to the very edge. Like I wept openly today after the swim. I'm a crier anyway, but it was incredible.
Yeah. Oh yeah, was that tears of joy that you'd completed number
tears,
6?
Thank God I was alive. So yeah, but you the people here in Hawaii helped me as well, and they're all on the rock waiting for you to come in, and you can't let people down, and it comes to that, and you try, you can't, you go as far as you can, and you keep going, and you never give up.
Great. Well, listen, personally it sounds horrendous. I don't know how you do it, and I presume you
come down to Baltimore. So we train in Lochine anytime you want. We train all year round, and you're more than welcome. I know you're into the fitness now. Another thing, sir, is
on terra firma.
Please do, but
and of course,
come down anytime. You're more than welcome.
Great. Well, listen, Steve. We'll await with interest your completion of the Tsugaru Channel in Japan. We keep our fingers crossed that you do manage to become the first person to do this Ocean's 7 Swims challenge. And of course, we have in the past as well spoken to Dermot in the D4 pub in Wellington, who you
he's an amazing guy,
who has helped you so much. But I'm sure
we're also doing these last couple of swims, John. Sorry to interrupt. For the West Cork Autism Society, to try and get a unit set up down there. I only got into these swims because I lost a lot of people. The way you come to a certain age and you realise that so many amazing people have gone, and you realise you haven't much time left, and that's how I got into these swims. They're all better than me.
Yeah.
And
who are you talking to? Who are you talking about, particularly, Steve?
We're trying to raise funds for the Southwest Autism Society in Skibbereen, Ballydehob. They're trying to build a unit down there. And we're trying to, for these last 3 swims now, we'll be trying to raise money for ourselves to get over to Japan, as I say, because it's just the logistics of it all. The hardest thing is to get to the water and get wetter. But the hardest thing is to try and find a way of, saving money or funding it to get there as well, because you can only bring maybe the max 2 people to any of these swims.
Well, there you have it. Rather you than me, Steve Redmond, swimming with the Sharks. Thanks a million, and good luck, and have a good rest now. Have a good rest in Hawaii, and I'm sure the people of Castledermot and Ballydehob and all of Ireland are very proud of your achievement.